and increase market share. So, of course, as um, uh, the current growth rate of the industry is a little over. Our targets will always, of course, they will differ from category to category. Then when we set our targets, we look at the therapeutic classes, we look at the so you would find that we would set targets for some molecules at percent, for some it would be 3%. So, what on an overall basis, our objective is to gain market share and remain ahead of the industry growth.
Sir. I guess Yusra wants to ask a question. She is raising her hand. So Yusra, please ask your question.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Nusrat, Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much for the call. Nusrat, my question was actually regarding the thought process of multinationals right now. Seeing as you've acquired, from a multinational, what is the thought process behind folding businesses? Abhi market share for multinationals to squeeze hota ja raha hai. And I read that the government is also telling multinationals to put for locally APIs locally as well because of the cost that goes down to the consumer as well. So, can you explain about what's the thought process behind this conversion that's taken place in the last decade?
You mean the entire 25-30 years, because it's a journey. It's not something that has just
that happened in a day. Ji.
So total turnaround हुआ है 3 decades. पहले 30 with local companies and 70% with MNCs. Now it's the other way around. I think बहुत सारी चीजें हुई हैं. पहले तो totally dominated market by MNCs, and slowly but surely local companies में transfer of technology हुई है, and यहाँ पे काम किया in the sense के जो जरा यूनिलैटरल किस्म की प्राइसेस होती थी, क्योंकि रेफरेंस प्राइसिंग मॉडल नहीं होती है, या चॉइस पर से नहीं होती थी. लेकिन लोकल कंपनीज आगे बढ़ी हैं, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट सेटअप किए हैं, तो ओवर द कोर्स ऑफ द लास्ट 2 decades ड्रैप ने भी, या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ जो पहले कहा जाता था उससे, उन्होंने इंडिया और बांग्लादेश से रेफरेंस प्राइस मॉडल इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिया है. एंड अगर वो ड्रग इंडिया या बांग्लादेश में मौजूद होती है, उससे ज़्यादा प्राइसिंग नहीं दी जाती. पाकिस्तान में ऑपरेट करने का MNCs they see a host of other things as well. Geopolitical risk नजर आता है उनको, करेंसी रिस्क नजर आता है. फिर फार्मास्यूटिकल में प्राइमरीली लेबर यूनियन है, सो लेबर के इश्यूज उन्हें नजर आते हैं. सो फिर ये था कि 30 साल पहले मार्जिन्स बहुत फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री में MNCs के लिए, but with local companies coming forward, margins काफी reduce हो गए. I think it's local companies have given a tough competition to MNCs, and perhaps जो एक risk reward वो होता है ratio, उसकी वजह I think the market is now moved towards roughly 70% stake local companies के पास है and 30% MNCs के पास है. I think this will stabilize towards local companies, and somewhere 80-20 पे जाके शायद settle हो जाए, because रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट तो प्राइमरीली एमएनसीज में ही होती है और सो वो एक इम्पोर्टेड प्रोडक्ट्स का या रिसर्च का वो तो एक एक डिमांड रहेगी मार्केट में सो ट्रैप का जो मैंडेट है वो ये है कि लो कॉस्ट क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट टू द पब्लिक पेटेंट के भी जो चीजें हैं वो यहाँ पे एक्सरसाइज नहीं होती हैं सो एमएनसी वो रहता है drugs वो नहीं लेके आते मार्केट
One question which is not exactly related to this particular call. It's regarding export actually, and the noise that's surrounding the region. And since you know towards exports, how do you see this working out, particularly with what's happening in Afghanistan? And
जी इसमें देखिए हमने जो है इस पे काफी एक्सटेंसिव शुरू कर दिया है कुछ गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से भी इंसेंटिव्स हैं एक्सपोर्ट पे and I think that is one segment from what we see certifications होती हैं वो आपको प्लांट लेवल पे होती है WHO प्री क्वालिफिकेशन होती है अगर वो आप अपने बहुत सारी कंट्रीज हैं जिनकी मार्केट्स आपके लिए ओपन so that is something that we have started working on and I do agree कि ठीक है domestic is attractive to 220 million की population है but having said that I think UK एक अपने रॉ मटेरियल्स के लिए एक import dependent market है तो उस रिस्क को मिटिगेट करने के लिए पे फोकस करना बहुत ज़रूरी है एंड आई थिंक पोटेंशियल है फार्मास्यूटिकल to increase our export and have already started work on that. But थोड़ा gestation उसका थोड़ा सा लंबा है 3 से 4 साल का अर्सा उसमें लगेगा.
got it. Thanks, Chair. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yusra. Thank you. Let's take the chat box. Then I would allow you to ask your question. There's a question regarding EAS of the transaction on a standalone basis. So to answer it, there would be an addition of around 1.5 in our books as regards to EPS. Yeah, on 12th month basis. Very right, sir. Thank you. We have is what were your consideration regarding impairment in relation to Asian post-COVID environment?
I didn't quite get the question.
So I try to read it once again. It says, Mr. Umar says that what were your considerations regarding impairment in relation to acquisition? Mohammed, can you please clarify a little what you exactly mean by it?
कोविड देखा था सो एक्सप्लेन कुछ क्या पूछना चाह रहे हैं didn't quite to ask.
Excuse me, can I add for this question?
Sure.
Basically, what I mean, I think this person is a past impairment because आपने जो transaction finalize किया pre-COVID पे किया, तो transaction आके आपका incorporate आया, तो क्या इसमें impairment हो गई है? और ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए, इसका positive impact होना चाहिए because आप COVID के साथ आप मजीद अपनी sale देख रहे होगे.
That's true.
This is what I think.
जब देखा था तो हमने 2019 के numbers की इस पे इस ट्रांजैक्शन लॉक किया था So उसके बाद ठीक है जो वो एक कोविड इसकी अपनी जो एक ब्रांड इक्विटी है या उसके जो यूजर्स हैं कोविड को हटा के भी वो अपनी जगह पे हैं एंड आई सेड कि कोविड इज लाइक उसको कहते हैं ना अल्लाह ना करे हम ऐसे तो नहीं बोलते बिकॉज आई थिंक हम सब किसी किसी की ना किसी फैमिली को जानते हैं सीरियस उसमें देखा है बात भी so but it is सख्त किस्म का फ्लू कह लें इसको but it will stay it seems that it will stay with us unless the time के कोई एक वैक्सीन भी इसकी probably 2 साल लगेंगी जिस तरह फ्लू शॉट्स and we will all learn to live with it so क्योंकि ये एक रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रैक को अटैक करता है ये वायरस एंड जो जो सीरियस केसेस भी होते हैं वो लंग इन्फेक्शन से होते हैं तो इसके जो इनिशियल कोविड मैनेजमेंट में एजिथ्रोमाइसिन का यूज भी बिलीव के रहेगा सो इम्पेयरमेंट तो मैं नहीं कहूंगी क्योंकि हमने इसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट तो प्री कोविड टाइम्स में ही की थी
Thank you, Nusrat. And I mean, like the COVID situation and everything. May Allah have mercy on all of us. So we'll hear from Ali now and box again. So Ali, please go ahead.
Hi, hi, Nusrat. Thanks for a very detailed presentation. Very useful. I maybe start, Omer. You said the earnings per share impact number that you gave. Is that what Sandoz brings to AGP on a post-minority basis? Post-minority expense.
Ali, can you please repeat?
Yeah, no, the question was the EPS that you gave. Is that the 35% AGP does not own?
That's 65% of the EPS. Maybe you can just double check that.
Sorry, can I add because this question was basically raised by me.
Okay.
Sir, EPS, whenever we calculate EPS, we have to calculate EPS including the holding and the minority, both combined. And then we, as per the accounting rules, then we come down and attribute the profit to the holding company and the minority. Therefore, I believe that 1.5 when you're talking is a 1.5, a consolidated EPS that is there. Okay, thank you.
Omer, is that, sorry, is that, just wanted to clarify, is that from the company or is that an investor? I wasn't sure.
That was an investor.
Oh, okay, that's very useful. Not sure if it's accurate, so I'll wait for you guys to confirm.
Omer, maybe you can.
Maybe you can take this offline. The reason I ask is just because if you do it on a post-minority basis, it implies that the margin today is as high as AGP's consolidated margin. But what I heard you say, Nusrat, is it's going to take you 2 years to 90% net margin.
That's correct.
And I think one of the questions that was asked earlier was, what is the current margin? And understand maybe if we're looking at the next, what's the ramp-up margins that you're expecting to see out of the Sandoz portfolio?
See, we have given you approximates. So, at the current time, of course, as there was a question as the prices of the API are fluctuating. As I've seen, prices have gone up extensively. So, we need to see where that would, and that is the last of this portfolio. So, we put an approximate the current margin would be a couple of percentage points. A lot of yeah, those are ballpark figures.
Right. Okay. So basically, we're saying if we're going to get to 50% in say 2023, that means that today we're probably around or something. That's what you're suggesting.
42.
42. Okay, got it. That's useful. And then secondly, just on revenue synergies, did you, like the question that was asked about multinationals from Yusra, was the portfolio neglected somehow in terms of, the revenue opportunity? Do you feel that AGP as a local company has an opportunity to increase the CAGR from historically 12.5?
Yeah, see, I think the decision to divest was, of course, made some time back, and I'm sure you would appreciate and understand that once a decision is made, then the spending in terms of resources, in terms of manpower, that is either reduced or put on the back burner. We feel that in terms of reach, this portfolio is neglected, and I think we bring value to the table as we have done in the past. AGP acquired brands in the past. To give you one example, Regix we bought in 2007, and at the time, the sales of the brand were about 100 million. Today, the sales of the brand are about 1.6 billion. So, it's a local company naturally invests in promotion of the brand as well as in increasing the reach, the frequency. So, we've identified gaps over there and strategy to bridge those gaps and bring more value.
Last question. It's just actually, sorry, just two more. One is on oncology. It seems that it's fairly small today, reflecting maybe just the size of the class, right? You've been excited about oncology for some time. Like, what makes you excited about that therapeutic class, and particularly those drugs that you acquired?
Oncology, the need for oncology drugs is there in the market. It was either being fulfilled by just two players in the market, and the remaining requirements were fulfilled through imports from India. With the geopolitical situation, I think as a strategy, the country is trying to reduce its reliance on India. I think there's a great gap over there. I agree that I would say it's not segment, but I think there is work to be done in that. It's an ignored segment, and as you know, we brought in the biosimilar for Herceptin in the market, but unfortunately, due to supply issues, we have not been able to get any stock for the last 18 months or so. I think there is need in the market. It's a relatively low margin segment, but being in the pharmaceutical sector, I think that is a segment that one should work on.
Yeah.
That's our view on that, and that is why we entered that segment.
Okay. Omer, sorry, one last one I'm going to sneak in, which is it's a more general question, Nusrat, on M&A. When you do a deal like this, relative to sales and relative to break and say, okay, we'll do something in 3 years, or is the strategy more like let's do three sizable ones get to 100 million sales and then take a break? And how do you think about executing and integrating versus acquiring? I see you're smiling, so I'm assuming.
Well, I think it depends on the opportunity. If the next opportunity presents itself, 2 months down the line, we will certainly turn away.
All
Uh,
right.
that way. So, we have the capacity and the will. So, that's the long and short of it.
Fair enough. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adi, and thank you, Nusrat. So let's just return to our chat box. We have some questions over there, and another one from Mr. Hassan. When is the annual CPI hike expected to take place for financial year 22 for various drugs, and how do you see its impact overall product portfolio? Should we expect an overall increase in sales by 7 to 8% due to CPI pass-through impact?
Okay, so the CPI this year was about 8.9%. So for non-essential drugs, it's 100% of the CPI. And for for non-essential, it's 100% of CPI, and for essential, it's 70% of CPI. It is expected to start in the second half of August. But since most companies have a stock of about 45 days in the market at the old price, so you should expect the impact kicking in the last quarter of this year. As far as AGP is concerned, about 75% of our portfolio is falls in the non-essential category. Having said that, there are some products in there which are not at their maximum price due to demand and supply constraints. So you could say that the price increase would impact about, say, 80% of our portfolio, and with an average increase of about 7%.
Thank you. The next we have is from Mr. Shabiul Hasnan, and he wants to ask what percentage of sales is tender sales and what percentage is retail sales. Also, please highlight top drugs which are sold on tender. And you also mentioned decline in the first quarter of calendar year 2021 on year-on-year basis due to decrease in tender sales. Can you please give us some outlook on this?
Okay, so primarily hepatology products were going into tender sales apart from. Okay. Are you asking about AGP or are you asking about Sandoz?
I assume it's for Sandoz business.
Sandoz, okay. There are no almost negligible tender sales in Sandoz. Although oncology portfolio is primarily, essentially goes to institution.
Okay.
But they away from tender sales for the last 2 years. But oncology essentially, it's goes to the institution.
The next we have is from Uzair Zubair, and he wants to know from which date Sandoz has been consolidated in your accounts. So if you allow me, I would like to answer this. That's from consolidated from July 30th, sorry. The next we have is from Mr. Taha Javed, and he wants to know what are you expecting annual price revision?
I think I already answered.
Yeah, we answered that. We can move to the next one. You have mentioned that you plan to move to production on your own facilities. since in terms of sales, it's around 50% increment to your existing sales. Do you have the capacity available, or would it require capex or tolling in near term?
Okay, so in some dosage form, we do have the capacity, and in some, we will need capex investment.
Thank you. So we'll return to our chat box again, but I can see Mr. Habib is raising his hand since long. So Mr. Habib, can we please hear from you? Habib Saab, are you? Sure. Habib Saab, we cannot hear you.
Type your question.
Okay. So let's move to the other one. Now we have our share price has fallen by. Going to see increase in share price, and will also new entries in market are affecting the share price.
We can't comment on share price. We can only comment on the performance of the company and the position in hand.
We have a next question from Hani, who wants to know, you have 80 and add 22 more. How can so I
22.
yeah. So Hanif sir, would be a total portfolio of around 80 products, and mentioned we are also hiring sales and marketing team. So we have the capacity, and inshallah that would be managed pretty well. We from Mr. Hasib Khan, how much contribution did Sputnik V make to overall profitability in the period?
Not much.
Moving on to the next one, we have from Abdullah. Can you please share details about recent nutraceutical plant? What is its capacity? How much additional revenue and profit you can expect from the plant?
Okay, so the nutraceutical plant went into commercial operations in quarter of 2020. In the initial phase, we transferred the 6 nutraceutical products that were being told from third party. So those products have full revenue of about 180 million, and then we are continuously adding new products in the pipeline. So you know, is a segment I think which gained a lot of traction global markets, and I think moving forward with if this pandemic has taught it's more going towards more preventive or prophylactic treatments. So it's immune boosters and health supplements to improve the general immunity of the body. So I think the nutraceutical segment is expected to gain good traction. We have obtained PA certification for the nutraceutical plant, and we will also look into exports in this segment as well.
Thank you, Nusrat. So, Mr. Habib, are you with us now? You are still raising your hand. I guess, Habib, you are having some troubles. We cannot hear you. So if I can request you to please write your question in the chat box. Okay. And going to our chat box once again. So we have a comment from Mohammed, I think. Instead of acquiring brands, why not considering to
So we do that as well. Like, Osnade is our homegrown brand, so is Enough, Primoral, Ruby Tech. So we do both. I think we do what we try to add value for the shareholders, and if you are homegrown brands or acquired brands, we try to do a combination.
Thank you, Nusrat. Then, as well, given the focus of the government on health and rollout of health cards has been on the agenda of the government, do you expect pharma sector growth to surpass the historical growth rate going forward?
I think double-digit growth will continue. It's already 12-13% higher than when you compare to developed markets. The same trend, give or take a few percentage points, that would continue.
Then Mohammed wants to know essential to non post integration of Sandoz portfolio.
I don't have a ready figure on hand, so we'll have to get back on that.
Thank you. Mohammed Iqbal wants to know any price increase expected from TRAP. I think we have discussed about it. Then we have a question Sab here. You mentioned that the transfer of market authorization over the next 12 to 18 months. Please share detail as to how you manage during the set period.
During the
set period.
Okay. So during time, we have signed an agreement from the Waters Pakistan, and we will continue to supply these products in this interim period as at an agreement.
Nusrat. Then Muhammad Ahmed wants to AGP, I believe, were products in pipeline, excluding standard brands.
Seeing new products are something that we keep close to our heart due to competition. So, you will know once they are launched. We have a robust pipeline, and we will roll it out.
Okay, so this is it from I can see from my chat box, and I can see no more hands being raised up. So, any questions? Further questions from the floor? Okay, I think. Okay, now we have the one.
Give you a brand category. It would be in the nutraceutical segment and cardiometabolic segment.
Thank you, Nusrat. So I guess if we have no more questions, can we bring to an end to the meeting? So Nusrat, any closing remarks?
No, just that we are extremely excited about the new acquisition. I think this will change the entire complexion of AGP and give us, increase our foothold in the anti-infective segment. I think that there's a lot that we can do. We have already identified the gaps. I think we got the deal at a good price, and I think time will tell. But we are excited and very confident that this deal will bring value to the company and its shareholders.
Thank you, Nusrat. Thank you for the wonderful closure. And
I want to say something. Hello. I want to say something.
Ji Hanif
First
sir,
of
please go ahead.
Hope you are all.
बहुत शुक्रिया अनीफ साहब, जज़ाकल्लाह. Thank you. And on behalf of management,
Congratulations 22 grants of, and we received very handsome by Nusrat. Very, I hope more important to the shareholders and give more profitability, inshallah.
Thank you for your encouragement.
Thank you.
thank you. And on behalf of the regards to all the participants over here, your association has always been valued